Okay, so imagine you haven't eaten a single bite of solid food for like 18 hours.
Right, you're just completely exhausted.
Exactly. Your
Mm-hmm.
stomach is literally gnawing at your spine,
Mm-hmm.
and you're staring intensely at this glass of water.
Oh, I know where this is going.
Yeah, so your hand is hovering over it. You're holding a slice of lime. You squeeze just a single microscopic drop of lime juice into the water.
Just one drop.
One drop. And the question is, did you just eat a meal?
Which sounds like a ridiculous question to ask.
Right. I mean, it's just a beverage, right?
Yeah.
But according to a 2,000-year-old legal code, the answer to that question could actually send you into a profound theological crisis.
Because you aren't just making a drink, you're navigating this ancient, a microscopic minefield of chemistry and, well, intentionality.
It's totally fascinating. Welcome to the Deep Dive, by the way. Today, we are unpacking something that completely broke my brain.
Yeah, the level of anxiety that single drop of lime juice can produce is actually entirely justified when you understand the framework we're looking at today.
So what exactly are we looking at? Let's set the stage for you listening at home.
We're examining a highly specific, incredibly dense discourse given by a Buddhist monk. His name is Phra Ajahn Mahasambun Chantaka.
And this was at the Wat Khao Sonam Chai Temple, right?
Exactly. Delivered fairly recently on March 14th, 2026. And the teaching focuses entirely on the concept of Pānā, which essentially translates to the strict rules governing allowable monastic drinks.
Pānā. Okay. And the mission of our deep dive today is really to just deconstruct this, because it forces us to completely rethink what we consider food, what we consider medicine, and like how we interact with the physical world.
It really does. It's not your standard modern diet advice where someone just tells you, to avoid carbs after 6 o'clock.
No, not at all. The transcript of this teaching reveals an architecture so precise that it rivals like the modern tax code.
That's a great way to put it.
Only instead of auditing your finances, they're basically auditing the fundamental nature of reality. Like, a piece of fruit isn't just a piece of fruit. It belongs to this incredibly rigid hierarchy.
Right. And before we can even get to the fruit, before we can even discuss that lime juice or the water, the monk's teaching establishes a huge prerequisite.
Oh, yeah. The time thing.
Yes. You literally cannot understand physical food without first understanding the celestial mechanics of time.
Which blew my mind. I mean, time is the ultimate governing authority in this ascetic lifestyle.
It really is. He opens his discourse by anchoring the teaching not to a clock on the wall, but to the cosmos itself.
Yeah, he notes the exact date, March 14th, 2026, and then instantly translates that into the lunar calendar.
The waning one of the 4th lunar month.
Which means what exactly?
It means that specific day marks the absolute first day of summer in this ancient tradition.
And why does that matter so much?
Because the rules of what you can consume, what you can wear, how you behave, all of it is entirely dependent on knowing exactly where the moon is in the sky.
Let me stop you right there, though. Because this level of astronomical precision, it just feels totally overwhelming for a daily routine.
It demands a lot of awareness, for sure.
Yeah, and the monk goes out of his way to explain that summer typically lasts for 4 months. It runs until the waxing 15 of the 8th lunar month. But then he introduces this huge complication.
The Adhikamasa.
Yes, the Adhikama. It's like an extra intercalary month, a leap year.
Right.
So suddenly, summer isn't 4 months long anymore. It's 5 months long.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm reading this thinking, why does a practitioner sitting in a forest temple need to care about a 13th lunar month?
Well, because a lunar calendar fundamentally drifts away from the solar year over time.
Right, because it's only, what, 354 days long?
Exactly. So if you don't add that extra month, that Adhikamasa, every few years, your months will slowly just slide completely out of sync with the actual physical seasons.
Oh, wow. So summer would eventually fall in the middle of winter.
Precisely. And the monks rely on the physical reality of the monsoon rains for their retreats and their rules. If the calendar is wrong, the behavior is wrong.
It's not just trivia.
No, the Buddhist monastic rules, the Sikkhapada, they dictate actions based on these exact lunar markers.
The teaching actually gives this really fascinating, hyper-specific historical example of this, with Visakha.
Oh yes, Visakha, a highly influential laywoman in early Buddhist history.
Yeah, so the text says she specifically requested that the Buddha allow monks to seek out and possess rain-bathing cloths, basically specific garments for the monsoon season.
Right. But the Buddha didn't just say, sure, grab a raincoat whenever you feel like it.
Right. The allowance to seek out these cloths is violently restricted by time. You are only permitted to look for them during the final month of summer.
And the mathematical rigidity of that rule is just startling. The monk literally walks his audience through the subtraction required to figure out this window.
Yeah, you start at the waxing 15 of the 8th month and count backward down to the waning 1 of the 7th month,
That single lunar cycle is your filing window.
which goes back to my tax code analogy.
Yeah.
If you miscalculate the moon phase, like you forget that it's a leap year and you go looking for your rain-bathing cloth in what you mistakenly think is the last month of summer, you're in trouble.
You have committed an offense and a potty.
And a potty, right. The transcript notes these penalties can be heavy or light, but the sheer burden of responsibility is wild to me.
It really is.
If you miss your window because you forgot to check the sky, the monastic code really doesn't care about your excuse.
Because the entire system is designed to strip away the illusion of living on autopilot.
Oh, that's really interesting. Say more about that.
Well, think about our modern world. Time is something imposed on us by our phones, our alarms, our work schedules, right?
Totally artificial.
Exactly. It's a construct that serves human convenience. But in this monastic framework, time is this massive, indifferent celestial machine. You are forced into a rhythm dictated by nature.
You literally have to look up at the moon.
Right. You must constantly observe the environment. If you lose track of time, you fundamentally lose track of your discipline.
Man. Okay, so that macro level awareness of the months and the seasons, that trickles all the way down to the micro level of just like a single Tuesday afternoon.
It does. Which brings us into the core dilemma the monk is addressing.
The daily fasting window.
Yes. He focuses his teaching on lay people who have chosen to observe the upasatha.
The 8 precepts.
Right. Which means stepping up from the basic 5 precepts of lay life. And the absolute heaviest, most physically demanding shift when you take on those 8 precepts is the fast.
Yeah, the physiological shock of the Upasatha fast sounds intense.
It cannot be overstated. Lay people observing these precepts must cease the consumption of all solid food from the exact moment of solar noon until dawn the following day.
We are talking about an 18-hour window where your body is denied any new caloric sustenance.
And the psychological torture of that isn't just the hunger itself.
No, the transcript highlights that the real danger isn't that you're going to crack at 9 p.m. and order a massive pizza.
Right, it's the accidental violation.
Yes, the terrifying reality that you might consume something you casually consider a beverage, but the ancient legal framework categorically defines as food.
You could completely shatter your religious vow without even realizing your mistake.
So how does the monk tackle this anxiety? Because I'd be terrified to drink anything.
He does it by meticulously categorizing the universe of consumables, and he starts with the easy exceptions.
Medicine's right.
Exactly, true medicines. Things like paracetamol, modern fever reducers, or bitter medicinal roots, those are allowed at any hour.
Okay, that makes sense. If your body's failing, you're allowed to treat the illness. That doesn't break the fast.
No, it doesn't. But immediately after establishing that, he introduces a profoundly complicated category of items. They're known in Pali as satahakalika.
The Satahakalika list is wild to me. It's honey, ghee, butter, oil, and sugarcane juice.
Now, look at the biochemical reality of those 5 substances.
They're basically pure, unadulterated energy.
Pure, dense calories. In the ancient world, before the invention of, synthetic vitamins or IV drips, these were the ultimate survival rations.
Oh, right. If a monk was wasting away from malnutrition, a spoonful of ghee or honey was literally the difference between life and death.
Exactly. So because of their sheer caloric power, they walk a very dangerous line between medicine and food.
Which explains the bizarre storage rule the monk mentions. He notes that fully ordained monks are allowed to accept these Satahakalika items, but they're put on a strict ticking clock.
7 days.
Right, they can only keep them for a maximum of 7 days.
Yeah.
Day 8 hits, the honey becomes illegal, and holding on to it is an offense.
Now, he clarifies that lay people observing the 8 precepts don't have to throw out their pantry every week. They don't have that 7-day restriction.
Okay.
But the categorization of these items remains absolutely critical for their daily fast.
Right, the categorization is what traps people. Because a modern practitioner might look at a jar of honey and think, well, it's liquid, it dissolves in tea, it's not a meal.
But the system demands that you recognize its ancient classification.
So if you consume honey at 4 p.m., just because your stomach is rumbling and you want a sweet treat,
You have committed a violation. You have treated a satahakalika as a casual snack.
okay, I really want to push back on this concept of the accidental violation, though, because it seems remarkably unforgiving.
It is very strict.
Like, let's say it's 5 p.m., I am dizzy with hunger, and I genuinely completely misunderstand the rules.
Mm.
I take a sip of something that violates the code thinking it's totally fine. In most philosophical systems, intention is everything, right?
Usually, yes.
So if I didn't mean to break the rule, surely my fast is still intact.
You'd think so, but the mechanical reality of this specific legal code does not care about your innocence or your ignorance.
Wait, really?
Really.
Uh,
While intention, or satana, is the ultimate driver of karma in broader Buddhist philosophy, the breaking of a precept is a physical, objective event.
Hmm.
Think of it like a chemical reaction. If you drop a match into a bucket of gasoline, the gasoline doesn't ask if you intended to start a fire.
It just ignites.
It simply ignites. The rules of the fast operate on that exact same level of objective reality. If the substance crosses your teeth and goes down your throat, and that substance is legally categorized as food, the fast is broken. The architecture of the vow collapses.
That is terrifying.
Yeah.
But I guess that level of strictness is the perfect setup for the absolute core of this teaching.
The Pānā.
Right. Because the window from noon to dawn is a minefield, and accidentally swallowing the wrong liquid destroys the entire endeavor. What on earth is actually safe to consume?
And that's where the monk spends the bulk of his discourse, defining Pānā, allowable juice.
And the chemical acrobatics required to legally classify a liquid as nampana are just astounding to me.
The barriers to entry are incredibly high. The very first barrier we encounter is what the text essentially calls the water rule.
Yeah, the monk uses the example of a mango to illustrate this, right?
Yes, a mango is a fruit. It is allowed. But how you process that mango changes its fundamental reality in the eyes of the law.
Walk me through this mango scenario, because this is where the system starts to sound like ancient accounting tricks to me.
Okay, so the monk says if you take a ripe mango and you squeeze it, extracting only the pure, thick, liquid juice of the fruit.
Just the liquid.
Just the liquid. That substance is classified as yavakalika. It is food.
Pure fruit extract, in its undiluted state, is the essence of the meal.
Exactly. Yavakalika literally refers to things restricted to the morning to noon window.
So if I drink a glass of pure, pressed mango liquid at 3 p.m., I have consumed a meal. I've broken the fast.
Yes. But the monk provides a solution that seems, at first glance, entirely contradictory.
Right. He says you must take that pure liquid mango and introduce water to it. The moment you mix water into the pure extract, the substance undergoes a categorical transformation.
It shifts from yavakalika food into yamakalika, which is an allowable afternoon drink.
Okay, but how is that not just a massive theological loophole? I am still consuming the exact same amount of mango calories. I'm just drinking a larger volume of liquid.
I know, it seems counterintuitive.
Why does dilution change the nature of reality?
Because it forces us to look beyond mere caloric accounting and examine the phenomenological experience of satiation.
Satiation, yeah.
Think about the physical properties of a pure, unadulterated mango puree. It's thick, it's viscous.
Yeah, it's basically a smoothie.
Right. When you drink it, it coats the lining of the stomach, it digests slowly, it provides this heavy, grounding sensation of having eaten a solid meal.
The monastic code recognizes that the practitioner is trying to trick their own biology.
Precisely. So the water rule is a safeguard against drinking your dinner. By forcing the introduction of water, you are physically thinning out the substance.
You destroy the viscosity.
Exactly. You accelerate how quickly it passes through the stomach. The water ensures that the liquid acts strictly as a thirst quencher, not a meal replacement.
That makes so much sense. The dilution strips away the substance's ability to act as a comforting, heavy blanket in your gut.
The law forces the drink to remain light, transient, and unfulfilling in a culinary sense.
Okay, that biological reasoning makes a lot of sense, especially when you pair it with the next massive restriction he talks about, the pulp rule.
Oh, the pulp rule. The tolerance for solid matter is 0.
0. The monk states that this water-diluted mixture must be meticulously, obsessively strained.
0 pulp, 0 fiber.
The teaching implies that if you are straining your diluted mango juice and a single microscopic shred of mango fiber slips through the cloth and ends up in your glass, the entire beverage is ruined.
It really is. That single fiber acts as a contaminant that reclassifies the entire glass back into the category of food.
But why? It's just a tiny piece of fruit.
Because what is pulp, fundamentally? Pulp is the flesh of the fruit. It is the undeniable structural anatomy of the solid object.
Oh, I see. As long as the flesh is present in the glass, you are chewing, you are eating.
Exactly. The rules demand an absolute separation of the essence of the fruit from the body of the fruit. You can consume the flavored water, but the moment you swallow the physical architecture of the plant, you have violated the noon to dawn prohibition.
The labor involved in making this allowable Pānā is intense. You can't just throw an apple into a modern juicer and drink whatever comes out.
Not at all. You have to extract, dilute, and rigorously filter.
But even if you perfectly execute this water and pulp protocol, you still have to worry about your source material.
Yes, the monk provides a sweeping list of what fruits are actually allowed to undergo this process and what fruits are permanently banned.
The allowed list is pretty broad but specific. He mentions 8 traditional drinks explicitly named in the ancient Pali texts, things like mango, rose apple, plantain, and honey tree fruit.
And beyond those specific 8, the general rule is that you can use almost any fruit, provided you exclude grains and beans.
You can use leaves too, right? As long as they aren't considered cooked vegetables.
Right. You can even use sugarcane, provided you follow the zero pulp rule to the letter.
But the banned list.
Yeah.
This is where the ancient taxonomy gets truly wild.
The Mahafan 9.
The 9 great forbidden fruits. And the items on this list: palmyra palm, coconut, jackfruit, breadfruit, bottle gourd, watermelon, Thai melon, wax gourd, and pumpkin.
None of those can ever, under any circumstances, be made into Pānā.
Even if you dilute them, even if you strain them through a microscopic filter.
Even then, they are permanently classified as food.
The inclusion of watermelon on that banned list is usually what trips up modern minds.
Oh, totally.
A watermelon is quite literally 92% water. It is the quintessential refreshing liquid fruit. Why would ancient monastic law ban watermelon juice, but allow a dense, sugary mango to be juiced?
It seems like a glaring contradiction, but the monk points to the ancient commentaries, the Athekatha, to explain the underlying logic.
And the logic blew my mind. The commentaries conceptually group heavy gourds, melons, and fruits with spiky or thorny skins like the massive jackfruit or breadfruit in the exact same category as grains and staple crops.
You have to abandon modern botanical genetics here. You have to look at this through the eyes of an ancient agrarian society.
Okay, so how did these plants function in their world?
Well, think about a pumpkin, a wax gourd, a jackfruit. These are massive, heavy, starchy objects. They grow in fields or on massive ancient trees.
Right.
They require intense labor to harvest, break open, and prepare. They are the heavy, grounding staples of a survival diet. They're the things you eat to survive a famine.
So a watermelon, despite being mostly liquid, carries the categorical weight of a pumpkin.
Yes. It belongs to the gourd family, both botanically and phenomenologically. It grows on the ground. It is massive.
Right.
Because it shares the physical and cultural footprint of a heavy staple food, it inherits the legal restrictions of a staple food.
You cannot turn a staple crop into a casual afternoon beverage.
Exactly. You wouldn't soak raw rice in cold water and drink the starchy runoff as a refreshing juice, right? Because rice is a meal.
No, you definitely wouldn't.
The ancient law treats watermelon with the exact same reverence and restriction as a bowl of rice.
It's just a totally different way of organizing the natural world. It classifies reality by human utility and cultural weight, rather than, like, cellular makeup.
It's a fascinating taxonomy.
But as fascinating as the Mahafan 9 is, the most shocking, counterintuitive rule in this entire transcript has nothing to do with the fruit itself.
Oh, the water temperature.
Yes, the strict prohibition of heat.
The temperature rules for Pānā reveal the deepest philosophical underpinnings of this entire ascetic lifestyle.
The monk states unequivocally that the water used to dilute the fruit extract must be room temperature or chilled. It cannot be boiled. It cannot be cooked with fire.
If the water has been subjected to fire, it is fundamentally disqualified from being used in Pānā.
The ancient Pali text the monk quotes establishes an absolute boundary. The drinks must be made with cold water. Fire is an illegal ingredient.
Now, the teaching anticipates a very practical, modern objection to this.
Yeah, because a practitioner living in a forest or a rural area might reasonably think, the water from this river or this well isn't safe. It's full of bacteria.
I need to boil this water to sanitize it to protect my health before I mix it with my fruit juice.
Exactly. And the monk addresses this directly. He says, you are allowed to boil the water for hygiene.
Yes, but with a massive catch.
You must let that boiled water cool down completely back to ambient room temperature before the fruit extract is introduced.
The interaction between the heat and the fruit is the precise moment of failure.
If the water carries even a fraction of a degree of residual warmth from the fire when the mango juice hits it, the monk says the drink is instantly ruined. It violates the precept. It ceases to be Pānā.
It is absolute.
I understand strict rules, but I have a genuinely hard time accepting the logic here, especially because the text introduces an incredible double standard.
You're referring to the sun-cooked exception.
Yes, the sun-cooked exception. The monk explicitly notes that if a drink is warmed by the ambient rays of the sun, it is perfectly legal.
But if it is warmed by a fire, it is forbidden.
I have spent time in the tropics. If you leave a glass of water sitting in the direct summer sun in Thailand, it will get incredibly hot. Hot enough to physically alter the state of the liquid.
It absolutely will.
So from a thermodynamic perspective, heat is heat. Thermal energy is thermal energy. Why does the origin of the heat change the legal status of the beverage? The temperature is identical.
Because you are looking at this through the lens of a physicist, measuring joules of energy.
Right.
The monastic code is looking at it through the lens of human intentionality and the history of civilization.
Okay.
You have to ask yourself, what does fire represent in the story of humanity?
Fire is the beginning of technology. It's the spark of civilization.
Exactly. Fire is the ultimate tool of human manipulation. When an animal eats, it consumes the world raw, exactly as nature provides it.
Sure.
But when a human being harnesses fire, kindles it, sustains it, and applies it to raw ingredients, they are engaging in the defining act of our species. They are cooking.
They are transforming the raw environment into a prepared, civilized meal.
So the prohibition isn't really about the temperature of the water. It's about the act of acting upon the water.
The Pali commentaries explicitly contrast adhika Pānā, which means cooked by the sun, with aki Pānā, cooked by fire.
Yes. The sun represents the indifferent, ambient reality of nature. The sun shines regardless of what you want.
Right. If the sun warms your water, you are simply experiencing the environment as it exists.
But building a fire requires immense intention. It requires gathering wood, striking a spark, managing the flames, and deliberately applying that focused energy to a pot.
So by using a stove, you transition from an ascetic accepting the world into a chef manipulating the world.
That is the exact philosophical boundary. The fasting period is designed to cultivate simplicity and detachment from sensual desires.
Ah,
If you allow a practitioner to start boiling water, simmering extracts, and creating hot, comforting teas and broths from fruit, you have allowed them to bring the comfort of the civilized kitchen into the ascetic fast.
the prohibition of fire ensures the beverage remains a raw, unmanipulated, humble substance. You cannot cook your way out of the fast.
That's a beautiful way to phrase it. You cannot cook your way out.
That distinction between the ambient environment and human manipulation is just brilliant. It perfectly explains why the ancient lawmakers were so obsessed with local context, too.
Yes, the contextual rules.
Because the architects of this code, writing in India millennia ago, were smart enough to know that they couldn't possibly index every single plant on the planet.
Right. They knew human beings would migrate, discover new continents, and encounter fruits that weren't mentioned in the Pali Canon.
So how does the system survive contact with the unknown?
It survives through an ingenious heuristic called the Mahapadisa, or the Great Standards.
It's essentially an ancient anthropological tool designed to classify the unknown. I like to call it the hunger test.
The hunger test, I like that.
Yeah, the monk explains that when a practitioner encounters a completely unlisted, undocumented plant, they don't look at its cellular structure, they look at the local society.
The Mahapadesa asks a single defining question. Do the people in this specific region consume this item as a staple food to satisfy their hunger?
The focus on local custom is paramount. And the monk provides two incredibly practical examples of the hunger test in action: pandan leaves and limes.
He paints this great visceral picture for the audience.
Yeah. He says, imagine you are starving. You haven't eaten in days. You are absolutely ravenous. Someone places a woven basket full of raw pandan leaves in front of you, and next to it, a massive pile of sour limes.
Are you going to sit down and gorge yourself on plain pandan leaves? Are you going to devour a kilo of limes to fill your stomach?
The biological and cultural answer is universally no. No human society treats a basket of limes the way they treat a basket of apples or a bowl of rice.
A lime is too acidic, pandan is too fibrous and strongly flavored. They're used as accents, as flavorings, or as medicinal treatments.
They do not function as a primary engine of caloric survival.
Because they fail the hunger test, because society does not rely on them to cure starvation. The ancient legal code officially classifies pandan and lime not as food, but as medicine. They are yavajivika.
And that medicinal classification grants them immense freedom. As we established earlier, medicines can be consumed at any hour of the day or night.
Right. But this freedom creates a massive paradoxical collision of rules, which the monk illustrates using the ultimate brain teaser.
Tea leaves.
Tea
A
leaves.
tea example is where the entire system ties itself into a knot and then brilliantly unties itself. Let's run tea through the Mahapadisa.
Okay.
Does any culture sit down with a spoon and eat a massive bowl of raw, dried tea leaves to cure their hunger?
No.
Therefore, tea leaves pass the hunger test. They are not food. They are classified as medicine.
But the paradox lies in the preparation. How do you extract the medicinal properties of a dried tea leaf?
You steep it in boiling hot water.
And what is the absolute unbreakable rule of Pānā juice?
No fire, no heat.
The collision is unavoidable. Because the creation of tea requires the deliberate application of hot water, it fundamentally, irreversibly fails the rules of Pānā.
Tea can never be considered a casual, allowable afternoon juice.
However, because the leaf itself was classified as a medicine under the hunger test, the hot liquid can be consumed, but strictly and exclusively under the rules of medicine.
The monk drops a massive caveat here. He says you can drink the hot tea during the afternoon fast, but only if you have a legitimate physical medicinal reason to do so.
You cannot sit on your porch at 4 p.m. and sip a hot cup of chamomile just because it feels cozy or because you like the taste.
If you drink the tea for pleasure, for comfort, or for hydration, you are treating a medicinal compound like a casual beverage, and you violate the precept.
You must have a symptom. The monk lists fatigue, bodily pain, or a specific illness that the properties of the tea are actively treating.
Your consumption must be an act of healing, not an act of snacking.
Exactly.
This hyper-localized, highly contextual system makes me want to test its limits.
Yeah.
Let's create a hypothetical scenario.
Let's hear it.
Let's say I travel to some isolated, undiscovered island. And on this island, for whatever bizarre evolutionary reason, the local culture has cultivated a giant, sweet variety of lime.
Okay.
And they eat bowls of these giant limes for dinner every single night. It is the bedrock of their caloric intake. If a monk visits that island, do limes suddenly become illegal to juice during the fast, just for that specific geographic location?
Under the strict logical application of the Mahapadesa, the answer is an undeniable yes.
Wow.
The system is designed to adapt to the reality of human behavior. If a local culture elevates a plant to the status of a sustaining staple food, the monastic code must recognize that cultural weight.
The rules aren't frozen in an ancient Indian vacuum.
Exactly. They are an active anthropological dialogue with the environment. What is a light refreshment in one hemisphere might be a survival ration in another, and the code bends to reflect that reality.
It is a stunningly resilient logical framework. It survived the migration of Buddhism across continents for millennia.
It really did.
But as the monk's teaching reveals in its final act, this ancient, unbroken logic completely shatters the second a modern practitioner walks through the automatic sliding doors of a 21st century convenience store.
Oh, absolutely. The modern industrial food complex is the ultimate enemy of the Pānā framework.
Navigating a modern grocery aisle while maintaining the 8 precepts requires an agonizing level of chemical and procedural awareness.
The monk issues a stark warning about commercial bottled drinks.
You walk into a 7-Eleven, you are fasting, you are thirsty, and you see a wall of brightly colored bottles. Energy drinks, iced lemon teas, electrolyte waters.
You look at the liquid, it looks clear, it looks refreshing.
But you have to read the ingredient list like a forensic scientist.
Modern manufacturers constantly inject microscopic amounts of food ingredients to enhance texture, stabilize flavors, or boost nutritional profiles.
And a fraction of a percent of an illegal extract disqualifies the entire bottle.
But the ingredient list is only the first trap. The far more insidious, invisible violation hiding in almost every single commercial beverage is the manufacturing process itself.
The pasteurization trap. This part of the discourse completely reframed how I look at Madhya food. Explain the pasteurization trap.
Think about what it takes to put a liquid into a plastic bottle and ensure it can sit on a store shelf for a year without growing mold or fermenting.
A lot of processing.
The mass manufacturing industry relies on pasteurization and sterilization. This means taking the liquid and blasting it with incredibly high heat, boiling it, steaming it, or running it through superheated pipes to kill every single pathogen and microbe inside.
And what did we learn about the fundamental philosophy of Pānā?
No fire, no intentional heat, no cooking.
The moment that factory machinery boiled the lemon tea to sterilize it, the manufacturer fundamentally ruined its legal status as Pānā.
It is an automatic failure.
So even if the ingredients are perfect,
Even then, you could take an apple, cold press it by hand in your kitchen, Mix it with cold water, strain every drop of pulp, and you have perfectly legal nampana.
Right.
But if a factory does that exact same process, but runs the liquid through a hot pasteurization tube for 3 seconds before bottling it, that identical liquid is now illegal to drink as a beverage during the fast.
That is wild. So it is functionally impossible to buy a commercial beverage and casually drink it as nampana.
It is practically impossible. The only legal loophole to consume that bottled iced tea during the fast is to classify the entire bottle as a medicine.
Like arguing the lemon and honey will soothe the sore throat.
Right, but again, you must actually have the sore throat. You are taking a dose of medicine, not quenching your thirst.
It is a theology and chemistry exam rolled into one, and the modern market actively works against you.
It really does. And the monk highlights how modern marketing even co-ops religious terminology to trick practitioners.
Yes, he brings up the classic example of candied ginger.
This is a very common sight in shops that cater to Buddhist communities. You will see packets of sweet, pickled, or candied ginger explicitly labeled with stickers that say Pānā or suitable for fasting.
The monk calls this out as a complete doctrinal misnomer. Why is candied ginger not nampana?
We have to break the product down into its component parts. Ginger is a root. Under the Mahapadesa, no one eats a bowl of raw ginger for dinner, so it passes the hunger test.
Right, it is a medicine. Yavijivika. It is perfectly legal to consume.
But candied ginger isn't just ginger. It is violently saturated in sugar to make it a sweet snack.
And sugar belongs to the Sada Hakalika category,
Yeah.
the energy-dense survival rations.
Exactly. When you take a medicine and you coat it in a heavy caloric sadahakalika, you do not create nampana. Nampana is a simple, raw, watery juice.
By combining sugar and ginger, you have created a heavy medicinal compound.
You are absolutely allowed to consume it if you are treating an illness, say, using the ginger for nausea or digestion, but labeling it as a casual Pānā beverage is a fundamental misunderstanding of the ancient code.
It proves that modern commerce uses religious terms for marketing without understanding the mechanical architecture behind the words.
The mixing of categories is incredibly dangerous in this system.
And the monk saves the most absurd, brilliant example of categorical contamination for last.
Ah, yes.
He references a highly specific nuance in the ancient Pali text called Anyehi Pakampiyam. I like to call it the milk loophole.
It perfectly demonstrates the uncompromising rigidity of ancient categorization. The text addresses a scenario where a practitioner has medicinal leaves.
And as we know, medicinal leaves can be consumed at any time to treat an illness.
But the text warns what happens if you take those medicinal leaves and decide to boil them in milk instead of water.
The monk states that the moment the medicinal leaves are mixed with the milk, the entire concoction is instantly, legally reclassified as vegetable soup.
Vegetable soup.
I laughed out loud when I read that. You take leaves and milk, and you legally create soup. How does the ancient code arrive at that conclusion?
You have to understand the categorical weight of milk in ancient India, and indeed throughout much of human history.
Okay, lay it on me.
Milk is not a beverage. Milk is liquid meat. It is the ultimate, heavy, sustaining staple of survival.
Right. I mean, a baby calf grows into a massive, muscular cow consuming nothing but milk.
It is pure, unadulterated caloric life force. In the monastic code, milk is the heaviest of foods.
So the food category is dominant.
Completely dominant. If you drop a medicine into a heavy food, the entire mixture becomes a heavy food.
You cannot use medicine to sneak food into the fasting window.
Exactly. The milk swallows the medicinal status of the leaves, transforming the mixture into a culinary meal, a soup.
And since all meals are strictly forbidden from noon until dawn, drinking that medicinal milk would instantly break your fast.
It's a spectacular example of how fiercely the ancient code protects the integrity of the fast against human cleverness.
It demands a level of mindfulness that is almost alien to the modern world.
It really is.
When you or I grab a drink, we look at the brand name. Maybe we glance at the calorie count or the sugar content. But this teaching forces a practitioner to look at a glass of liquid and see an entire interconnected universe of history, biology, and human action.
It demands total presence. You have to look at the liquid and ask, what family of plant did this come from? How heavy is the flesh of that fruit?
Was this liquid ever touched by the spark of human fire, or only by the ambient heat of the sun?
Was it diluted with water? Is there a single microscopic strand of fiber floating in the glass? Has it been contaminated by the touch of milk or sugar?
It is a hyper-awareness of existence. To summarize the massive, incredible journey we've taken today, we started by looking up at the night sky, tracking the Adikamasa leap months to ensure our monastic architecture aligns with the monsoon rains.
We zoomed into the terrifying daily reality of the 18-hour Upasatha fast, where a single accidental sip can shatter a religious vow.
We explored the deep molecular transformation that happens when you dilute heavy mango puree with water. We debated the Promethean philosophy of heat, unpacking why the ancient code considers a stove a tool of civilization while the sun remains a raw element of nature.
We utilized the Mahapadesa's hunger test to analyze the localized anthropology of limes and tea leaves.
And finally, we navigated the invisible thermodynamic traps of modern factory pasteurization and the bizarre, brilliant reality of the milk loophole.
The depth of this framework is staggering. And even if you never intend to take on the 8 precepts, even if you never step foot in a forest temple, this teaching offers a profound critique of how we live today.
How so?
We consume blindly. We outsource the preparation of our sustenance to massive factories and invisible supply chains. This ancient text provides a blueprint for what true, rigorous mindfulness actually looks like.
It's so true.
It argues that true discipline isn't just about the act of denying yourself food. It is about cultivating an intense, unbroken, uncompromising awareness of the fundamental nature and history of exactly what you allow to cross your lips.
It proves that every single sip has a history, a structure, and a consequence. And that leaves me with a final, provocative thought to mull over for you listening at home.
Oh, let's hear it.
As we look at the trajectory of modern food science, we are entering an era of impossible synthesis. We have tech companies engineering entirely synthetic liquid meals.
That's a good point.
Imagine a lab artificially constructing a perfectly clear liquid, a beverage, engineered from the molecular level up to contain zero pulp, zero heat in its creation, and derived from zero traditional botanical sources.
Wow.
It bypasses the Malfon 9 completely. It has no cultural history for the hunger test to analyze, yet it is packed with complex synthetic calories designed to eliminate human hunger entirely.
That's a fascinating hypothetical.
If modern science can successfully mimic the physical properties of Pānā while delivering the caloric payload of a heavy meal, does this ancient legal framework finally break down?
Or does it simply force humanity to fundamentally philosophically redefine what the word eating actually means in the 21st century?
Exactly. It is something to think about the next time you find yourself staring into the open refrigerator, exhausted, obsessing over a single drop of juice. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Thank you for listening.